agenda item is called On This Week in the Life of Sister Margaret Mary Weeks. So I'm covering like 2 weeks. So we have July 31st, 2010. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the Friendly's Restaurant, we can see Sister Margaret Mary with Connie and Barbara.
I see that. Uh-huh.
You remember anything about that? That was in 2010 on July 31st, sister. Can you remember anything about that? I'm sure you were there maybe for your birthday or something.
Just to get together, I think was we
Uh,
asked if and
I-
it's I never went there when I was living growing up. It seemed to be an expensive place at the time. We knew it was there, but we didn't go there.
it was
But
North Canton, and I think you're out of business now. So, Sunday, do you know anything about Friendly's Restaurant or this photo?
Friendly's restaurant is actually still there, I think. And sister, you might have been thinking another year we went to the ice cream, Talbert's. I think that's what you're talking about, that you thought it was expensive when you were growing up. I don't think Friendly's is old enough that it would have been there when you were a little girl. I mean, you can
No.
check if you
no,
want. Friendly's is more of a new restaurant,
right,
newer.
right. We didn't go out to restaurants when I was a little girl. We didn't go out to eat.
Right.
I'm a,
Yeah, I remember the picture with Talbert's too, but that's much later. This is 2010. Okay, well, fine. I mean, I did look up Friendly's. Friendly's is mostly out of business, but there may be some locations that are still open. Now, we did talk about your mom and dad's anniversary, and I did find a photograph of them at their anniversary. Do you see that on the left
yes, I see
with
it.
with the cake and everything? It looks like great. And I
Yeah,
thought that
that's a
last
great.
week I was saying that I thought maybe that wasn't in January, but the way I see her dress now, I'm thinking that was in January. I mean, their anniversary date was January 30th. So
I don't remember.
I'm thinking this is 1957, January 30th, that photo was taken, and they had you said this was at a banquet hall somewhere.
I don't remember, but I know it was at out of the house. I know it was at a big place. I don't remember the name of it.
Okay, that's fine. And everybody was there, like you were there, and Father Paul was there, and probably my mother and father were there, and Marge and Harold that were there probably everybody, right? Father Paul was there, right?
Yes, he was there. We saw his picture last week, and your father, Bob. We saw him. We saw their photos last week. Remember that?
All right, this is the photograph of their actual wedding. I was confused. I didn't remember this photograph, but Cindy insisted that they had a photograph, so I went back and looked it up, and this is quite a nice photograph here. That's their actual wedding day. So that
Very.
was on January 30th, 1907. I subtract 50 years from 1957. So that's great. So Clem is sitting down, and Clotilda is obviously the one with the veil.
Very pretty.
Yes, very, very nice. I'd have to go back and look up who her bridesmaid and the groom were. I don't recall. But I did put a picture. I don't have a picture of Harold and Marge Stockard, except for the one on the far right. That would be in like 1943. and they already have Patty or Patricia
right.
there. So this was 1943. The date of the anniversary was 1957, and they, well, obviously they wouldn't have been around for the wedding day. But that's Marge Harold. I looked for other photographs of Harold and Marge. This is the best one I could come up with. They're all the photographs I have are in the 1940s. Finally, but they were at the anniversary party, right, sister? They were there too.
I don't remember.
Well, they would be there. There's no reason why they wouldn't be there. Now, finally, I have this kind of is a lead into the biography section that we're talking about here. This is not an actual photograph. I photoshopped a picture of you and Sister Bernadette in front of St. Joseph's Hospital. And that's not St. Joseph's Hospital back in 1954. They tore that Riverside Hospital down. You know that, right?
Yes, just recently I find it.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do was get a photograph of it back in 1954. And so I don't think I could actually find a photograph from 1954. But this is a photograph that basically has the general shape of it. It went through some renovations, but probably not until after you'd already left in 1955, right, sister?
That's correct. That's correct,
All right.
Dick.
All right. Did Sister Bernadette ever come to visit you at the hospital?
Not that I remember, no.
Okay. We may make up a little story about her visiting you at the hospital. You were good friends with Sister Bernadette, weren't you?
Well, mostly because she asked me to pray for her brother.
Oh, okay.
Her brother was very sick, so that's what I remember. I jotted it down on several of my holy cards, and that to remind me to pray for Sister Bernadette's brother. I remember that distinctly. She'd always, whenever I'd encounter her in the hallway or something, she'd always say, "Are you praying for my brother?" And I said, so that's mainly what
Yeah.
the education people, the education sisters and the hospital sisters were were right separated in our community. Everybody remembered that if you were a nurse, you were in a different category, and then you're a teacher, you're in another group. So we weren't together very much. In fact, we had to, and retreats used to be very full and large group of people together, and we would be asked if we could go on Easter retreat because the summer retreats were so full at the villa to have everybody have a bed to sleep on during the retreat. So
She was stationed in close to Cleveland, so you wouldn't have run into her on a
no,
regular basis. She was a good friend of our mother because I have letters that she wrote,
oh, she
and you
the
knew
mother.
that. You knew that, right, Cindy? Sister Bernadette was a good friend of Mom's.
Sometimes these sisters got to know the mothers of their students real well because they would have a lot to talk about their child, and the teacher. So Sister Bernadette might have tried to contact your mother.
Well, also, I think we have a letter right before Cindy was born. She was praying for her and stuff. So we have a photo. That's what I came across the address, and I mistakenly I thought that address might have been a place that you lived also, but then I looked it up and it's Cleveland. So clearly you were never there. But that's where she was. She was out of Cleveland.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I don't know if Cindy's still there or she's muted or what. Cindy, do you have any? questions about on this week in the life of Sister Margaret Mary?
Before I forget it, Chuck, could I tell Cindy that I found out that Paula is retired from that job with Gary Sinise. She said she's enjoying her retirement. So I was wondering if I could remind her that maybe she could join once in a while. She won't be too busy on Friday nights now that she's retired.
Yeah, I think I forwarded on the invitation. I mean, Chuck can send them directly too, but I think I did share this last one because I thought since it was her mom and dad's anniversary, she might be interested.
Yeah, that would be great if she could really add something to it, I'm sure.
But she didn't respond. But in regard to Sister Bernadette, I never had her in school. I think maybe Barb did, and she was a friend of Mom's, but I don't really know her.
Yeah. Okay, that concludes on this week in the life of Sister Margaret Mary.